from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Wednesday night edition of the program. It's actually Tuesday, though, or is it Wednesday? Who knows anymore? I want to remind you tonight we're having an interview with Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. But before we get into that, a moment to acknowledge the life of Officer Diller. May God rest his soul, NYPD officer that was killed in Queens, New York by someone at a traffic stop. The suspect, the alleged murderer, 21 previous arrests, 9 felonies. Absolutely disgusting. The border remains open. Crime remains rampant. And all we can talk about today is a bridge that collapsed with, again, multiple fatalities. My heart goes out to those families as well. And we're going to hear a little bit about that in a moment. Also, in addition to our conversation with the Tiger King running for president and catching up with everything that Joe Exotic has been up to since his Netflix program, I want to connect with the attorney for Ghislaine Maxwell and have him also weigh in on the Puff Daddy case. So we're going to get into that as well. Plus, I'm going to talk about the bridge. We're definitely going to dedicate a couple of segments to the bridge. So that's kind of what we have slated tonight. But I want to start off with the bridge because I think that's something important, and it's something that we have to take a look at. When you've seen this video, and again, if you haven't seen this video of the Baltimore Bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, one of the, I think it's one of the top 8 busiest ports in the world, is from what I was reading. This is just insane to watch. Now, listen, I'm not well versed in maritime accidents. I'm not well versed in boating, but when you see this ship come, and it's a huge ship, and it comes and it collides with this bridge, and this bridge just like snaps as if it were made of popsicle sticks. It's just very, very, very surreal to watch. Now, there have been all sorts of comments being made today. Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore, spoke at a press conference. Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, spoke at a press conference. President Joe Biden spoke at a press conference. And I'm going to try and give you a little bit of the scoop from Brandon Scott and from Joe Biden if we have enough time to squeeze it in. But listen to Mayor Brandon Scott.
This is a unthinkable tragedy. We have to first and foremost pray for all of those who are impacted, those families. Pray for our first responders and thank them, all of them working together, city, state, local, to make sure that we are working through this tragedy. This is an ongoing active research that we're having right now. We're going to continue, as you heard from Chief Wallace, throughout. As long as we have to be doing that, we will do it. But we have to be thinking about the families and people impacted, folks who we have to try to find and save. This is what our focus should be on right now. We're going to continue to work in partnership with every part of government to do everything that we can to get us through the other side of this tragedy.
Again, that's the mayor giving his thoughts. And again, this is a tragedy. And a lot of people are calling foul play. And listen, I'm not saying it's right to call foul play. I'm just saying it looks like foul play. When you look at it, it looks like this was some sort of a controlled demolition. Now, what do I know? I'm not saying that's the case, but it definitely looked that way. I don't want to tarnish the memory of anybody that was lost, but I understand how things work. And let me tell you, this doesn't look great. It also doesn't look great for P. Diddy. His lawyers slamming the government, saying this military-styled raid is no bueno. Anyway, straight ahead, Joe Exotic, Joe Maldonado, Joe Passage, the Tiger King joins me in an exclusive from the Grady Federal Prison. Don't miss it. I'm Rich Valdez.
The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
This is Prodigy Solutions with a prepaid call from
Joseph Passage.
An inmate at the Grady County Jail. Three-way or call waiting is not allowed and may automatically disconnect this call. Please select from the following options. To accept this call, dial 1 now. To reject this call, dial 2 now. For help from an operator regarding your call has been accepted. This call is subject to being recorded or monitored except for privileged calls between attorney and client.
All right, America, welcome back, amigos. Now, listen, check this out, familia. We were talking about the Tiger King a little while ago. Now, you remember this was a big hit on Netflix. Everybody was home during the pandemic watching the crazy saga of Joe Maldonado, a.k.a. Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. And it ends with this conflict with Carol Baskin. And shortly after that, I got a message from Joe Exotic. I found out he was a fan of the show and listening from federal prison because that's where he's been. And we have the good fortune of having the Tiger King live with us on the phone right now. Joe Exotic, welcome to the program.
Rich, I'm honored, man, to be able to have a voice on your platform. There's probably 140,000 federal inmates that listen to you at night.
Wow, it's good to know we're popular in federal prison. I hope that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing.
Well, Joe Exotic,
you can hear everybody lay there and say Rich Valdez. That's Valdez with an S.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you listening, brother. Now, let's jump into this because I think it's really interesting the way this is played out. The first thing I want to ask you, just for the sake of controversy, is did you plot to kill Carol Baskin?
Absolutely not.
All right. Now, the reason we're talking, obviously, because I do interviews, but it's a big thing because we've seen the weaponization of the criminal justice system. We've seen the FBI being used to stop political opponents. There were some rumors of you potentially running for president because of your Tiger King popularity. And I don't know if 2 and 2 makes 4 here, but I've seen some of the stuff presented by your attorney, John Phillips, and there just seems to be a lot of loose ends here in a story that isn't being told. Fill us in.
There is, Rich. First of all, I'm a political prisoner in the United States in the Biden administration for nothing more than the Big Cat Safety Act. They nicknamed that bill the Tiger King bill. All it does is keep you as a private citizen from owning a tiger or you going to a zoo and petting a tiger. That's all it does. It does nothing to help big cats, okay, especially in the wild. But, you know, everybody says, did you have a plot to kill Carol? You know, I have now, and you mentioned John Phillips, the government witnesses have turned over their cell phones, their computers, and everything. And on joeexoticofficial.com, there's an evidence link where they have went under oath, doing video depositions and signing affidavits, admitting to perjury. They handed over their cell phones, which is incredible with the evidence of how the federal agents knew they were lying at trial and how they coached them to lie at trial. Just to put me in prison to pass this bill, you know, and it's not right, but, you know, Trump is finally getting a taste of what the American justice system has turned into.
You know, it's funny you say that because a lot of people were skeptical about what you just said, that Trump is getting a taste of that. There was a movie that came out years ago. It's based on a true story. It's called White Boy Rick. And it's a similar story of a guy who was, you know, caught up in something, but they ended up turning him into a drug dealer. I think he sold guns or something. But ultimately, the guy becomes one of the biggest drug dealers with the support of the FBI. And what's so strange about it is it's that prior to watching that movie, and this, again, being based on a true story, people probably wouldn't have thought that the FBI is complicit in creating crimes out of whole cloth. But in reality, they do. All right? We've seen somewhat similar with the governor of Michigan kidnapping, and you're alluding to this is happening in your case.
Rich, the people that I've met in federal prison and read their cases and looked at their cases, there's probably 40, 50,000 people in federal prison right now that shouldn't even be in prison because they're in prison for conspiracy of something that the government has cocked up. You have to sit back and ask yourself, and this is why I throw in my hat in the political ring, not to win to become president, but to have a voice and wake people up. You have to ask yourself, first, why can the federal government convict you on hearsay in a state trial? You cannot. And then why are cameras not allowed in a federal courtroom and they are in state courtroom? Because the feds have so much corruption and to hide of how they pull this stuff off that's what's wrong. And I could change this entire country with one law, okay? And that is anybody that is a political office or takes the oath of office or a law enforcement officer, if you violate your oath of office like they're all doing up in Washington right now with bribes and everything else, 10-year minimum prison sentence, and you'd see a whole bunch of politicians resign.
Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. Everything you're saying makes sense to me. I'm not saying that you've got an ironclad case, but it seems like there was a brief that was filed by your attorney that cites a whole lot of this about the government witnesses falling apart and how this case isn't exactly what the government put together. And when you look at that through the lens of what we've seen now, where we've seen, the government literally extorting Trump, the Biden administration going after him because he's the biggest opponent in the presidential race for 2024. Now, I don't know if they're afraid of you entering the ring or not, but it does seem to me that you may have been set up. The possibility exists. Why would somebody do that to you? Why would the cast from Tiger King or others, would you say it's jealousy? What do you think it is?
Well, okay. First of all, I used to be a police chief when I was 19 years old. That was on the Netflix show. And the police thing kind of just stuck with me through the years. And when Carol started picking on me and I started investigating Carol and found out that her husband was missing, I have his original power of attorney. I have his original death certificate. I have her original diary. And I'm telling you, that woman killed her husband. And part of this was to put me in prison to shut me up. And the other part was she promised all of the people that testified against me that if we get Joe in jail and we take Joe's zoo away, we're gonna have a party and we're gonna give you Joe's zoo and we're gonna give you Joe's animals and we're gonna do all this. And all these people thought that they were gonna get a big check from Carol Baskin. Well, when I got put in prison, then she sided with PETA and the USDA, and then Jeff Lowe got raided by the feds, and they took his animals away, and Doc Antle got raided by the feds, and they put him in jail, and he's going through the same mess now. And what they done was they thought that she was going to promise them the moon if they helped put me away and take everything, and she didn't. So they turned on her. And Rich, the sad part is the phones and stuff that they turned over to John Phillips, and he has this all on YouTube. You can go to joeexotictv.net and watch all of these videos from these cell phones of them admitting to rape and bank fraud and sex trafficking. And then I was floored to see Alan Glover come forward under oath and admit that they had a plot to originally kill me to start with. Why in the hell am I in prison?
Folks, we're on with Joe Exotic, the star of the hit TV series on Netflix, The Tiger King. And we're on a recorded phone call right now live from a federal penitentiary with Joe Maldonado, a.k.a. Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. Joe Exotic, the only part of this puzzle that seems like it's missing to me is, why would the government be in cahoots with Carol Baskin? Why would they go along with going after Doc Antle and everybody else? I would get it if you had this huge political campaign, but I can't place it.
First of all, she's powerful. Okay, she has a lot of money, and if you look, on the websites of who donates money to different politicians, she has got quite a few in her pocket. But she is really, really tied with PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, the Humane Society of the United States. She gives them tens of thousands of dollars a year, of money that people donate to her to take care of her cats. She turns around and buys the support from PETA and the Humane Society of the United States. And those people are powerful. I mean, look at what Biden's doing right now with the climate change, okay? Everything's about climate change, okay? We can't drill on American soil, but we can put windmills in the ocean, which is the most fragile ecosystem we have on the planet. But that's how they pulled this off, was nothing but animal rights people, lobbyists in Washington, putting money in the right campaigns in order to shut down the tiger industry. And what they did was, all they done was they opened up an illegal monopoly for tigers, because the only two organizations that are exempt is the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, which is Carol's, and the American Zoological Association, which is Dan Ash, who was the director of the Federal Fish and Wildlife that prosecuted me. So both of them organizations had a reason to put me in prison and shut me down and pass this law. Because I was supplying every zoo in the country and across the world with baby tigers, so we didn't have to take tigers out of the wild.
You know, there's a saying in politics, Joe Exotic, follow the money. And there's another saying in politics that says it's always about the money. And when it's not about the money, it's about the money. And the way you're describing it, that's exactly how it sounds.
It is exactly about the money, you know. And then federal prison is a whole nother story. Okay, you want to talk about the most corrupt organization on the planet, other than the FBI and the Department of Justice, is the Federal Bureau of Prisons. There are, Rich, I've never seen more drugs in the 55 years I was a free man than I've seen in the 4 years that I've been in federal prison.
Wow. So now in the show, you were doing meth. Do you still have access to meth in prison?
Okay, let me clear this all up, okay? In the show, they made me out to be a meth head, okay? That was part of Netflix's goal. I didn't film for Netflix. Netflix used all of my old footage that I was filming for my own reality show. And I'm not going to deny I partied once in a while, but was I a meth head? Hell, I was the only one on the show with teeth. Come on, okay? and anybody out there that's listening to your show, when you do meth, most of the time you're naked, okay, because that's just what meth does to you. And I was running a zoo, a television show, 3 restaurants, taking care of my parents, and you never saw me naked, did you?
No. Only Hunter Biden.
The whole meth head thing was nothing but the people, the producers of Netflix needed to boost up their bullshit.
Yeah.
Folks, there was no different than making John Finley go shirtless most of the time, and Alan Glover do an interview in the bathtub, and, you know, it was TV. But unfortunately, it ruined my life because I made it 55 years.
This call will be terminated in 2 minutes.
I made it 55 years without even a speeding ticket, and I've lost my entire life. I lost my zoo. My parents have both died. I have fought prostate cancer. Now I'm fighting lung cancer.
Wow.
And I'm trying to get the hell out of here. And it's hard because I've been waiting 7 years for an appeal motion for a new trial to get a new trial, and Trump can get to the Supreme Court about the Colorado ballot in 2 months. Explain how that's fair.
Because he got on the ballot. Folks, we're on with the Tiger King, and we're going to talk more about everything that you're going through, Joe Exotic. We're on a recorded call, recording this live from a federal penitentiary with Joe Maldonado, Joe Exotic from the hit TV show The Tiger King. Joe Exotic, I just got the 2-minute warning. We're coming right back with Joe Exotic.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
This is Prodigy Solutions with a prepaid call from
Joseph Passage.
An inmate at the Grady County Jail. 3-way or call waiting is not allowed and may automatically disconnect this call. Please select from the following options. To accept this call, dial 1 now. To reject this call, dial 2 now. For help, your call has been accepted. This call is subject to being recorded or monitored except for privileged calls between attorney and client.
Okay.
All right, America, welcome back. We continue our conversation with Joe Exotic, a.k.a. the Tiger King. He's given us a call from the Grady County Jail. He's being held on federal charges for conspiring to put out a hit on Carol Baskin. He's denied that right here. This is an exclusive. You're not getting this anywhere else, folks. A full half hour with the Tiger King. Joe Exotic, welcome back.
I appreciate you, Rich.
Absolutely. So you're telling us you're fighting lung cancer. You've fought off prostate cancer. You're filing this appeal to get out of jail with your attorney, which seems to be a really meaty appeal. What else is going on for you?
Well, I have the appeal to overturn my conviction going on, and then I have what they call a 2255, which is ineffective assistance of counsel, because the federal prosecutors, the public defenders that I had at the trial, because they kept me in solitary confinement the whole time. I couldn't pay no bills or get no help. So they kept me shut up for the first 2 years. I had to use free lawyers that the government gave me, and they hung me out to dry. So I have a 2255 for ineffective assistance to counsel going right now, and a writ of habeas corpus, which is that the government is holding me when they know that I'm innocent.
What do you expect the outcome of that to be?
You know what, Rich? I'm so down on America right now. I'm wondering if they're going to find a way out of this and keep me in here. If I can make it to Denver in front of the 3 judges that I beat this Oklahoma judge on once already, I do believe that I can get a fair shake and get a new trial. Do you think they'll take me back to trial? I don't think so. I think they'll come and try and swing me a deal, because their witnesses are crap. They've already admitted to perjury, and they've handed over so much evidence. I don't think the government could take me back to trial. So that's what scares me right now is whether they're going to find some kind of a corrupt loophole to keep me from getting a new trial or what. Look at what the hell they're doing to President Trump right now. It's crazy. 91 felony indictments. Don't you think 15 was enough? That was like me. I came to jail. They arrested me with one charge, Rich, and that was a murder for hire for Carol Baskin. And I said, "What the hell are you talking about? I didn't do nothing." And I wanted a trial, and the minute I asked for a trial, they superseded me with 20 more charges.
That's how the government plays. They're playing for keeps. Folks were on with Joe Exotic.
Our Constitution says that you have a right to a fair trial. It doesn't say that you have a right to be blackmailed by the Department of Justice if you ask for that.
Amen to that. I think, listen, I'm with you. When the heavy-handed tactics that we've seen the government use for a long time. I think President Trump said it well when he said that he's catching more charges than Al Capone. And the fact that, President Trump's now getting street cred from so many from everywhere, from where you are to where I am. There's people all over, whether it's people in jail, people on the street. Everybody's saying this is a travesty, it's an injustice. And then you add the Tiger King to that, and it really makes you think how much of this stuff is rigged.
You take the average Joe Smith that lives, and struggles from paycheck to paycheck, and gets drunk every once in a while, or does a little bit of drugs once in a while, and you get them in front of these people, and they threaten you with 40 years or a life sentence because they can manufacture drugs. Because that's what they're doing is with the conspiracy thing is they get 2 witnesses, Rich, that says, "Oh, you've been buying an 8-ball of crack cocaine from this guy for every week for 2 years." Well, they're going to charge you with 6 pounds of crack. And they got all these people that are broken up families, and the government and the citizens are paying for them to be in prison for nothing. There's no fixing this in here. I'm telling you, there's more black mold and electrical problems and expired food that we have to eat because the government employees making $40, $50 an hour is hauling it all home in the backpacks.
Tell us more about what it's like in prison. You're at the Grady Correctional Facility. It's a county facility. What's it like?
Well, at the federal prison I'm at, the black mold is crazy. It's crazy. My cellmate that sleeps above me we have a plastic bag taped to the ceiling and guided out the window to keep the water from dripping on his bed from the floor upstairs. Okay, and it's been like that for over a year that I've been there. And the black mold in the bathrooms and stuff is just phenomenal. It's just crazy. And then if you see on the news, you know, Todd Chrisley is down there at the camp, the federal camp in Pensacola, and he did an interview and talked about the black mold and the expired food, and they punished him. I'm sure I'm going to catch hell too, but I don't even care anymore. But it's seriously, we're eating food that expired over a year ago. And the taxpayers are paying billions and billions of dollars for this.
Without a question. Now, let me ask you, what's it like being that you're a celebrity in prison? Are they showing you love? Do people know who the Tiger King is, or are they giving you a hard time? What's it like?
You know, I'm very popular in prison, but let me tell you about federal prison. You learn how to walk, and you learn how to talk, and you stay in your own lane. I do good business in prison, and I have a lot of respect in prison.
What kind of business you doing, Joe Exotic? Don't get yourself in trouble again.
Well, you know, first of all, the prison starves you, okay? All right? Because the inmates or the guards are taking all the food home. So the inmates, you know, make pizzas and burritos and stuff like that, and they have little hustles going on. And you buy everything with books of stamps. So a book of stamps for me is $7. So if I go buy a pizza, it may cost me $14 in stamps.
Oh, so you're bartering for food.
Right. Yeah, you buy stamps off the commissary and you trade stamps for food, basically, from inmates. And we live like river rats, honest to God, Rich. I'm not exaggerating. If you think for 1 minute President Biden gives a about how the conditions of the prisons are in Russia or anywhere else, that he's trading all these dangerous people for American citizens, and he don't give a damn about how people are being treated in American prison. You got to remember, and the judge knows, I've been caught with 2 cell phones because the guards sell cell phones in prison for $3,000 a piece.
Wow.
Okay, and at some point in my life, I'm going to show you the evidence of what it really looks like inside a federal prison. And President Biden better hope that it's not before this election.
Why, are you thinking he might end up there?
Well, he definitely wouldn't win an election because he ran on 2020 saying that he was going to do prison and justice reform, and he ain't done nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to trade $6 billion and Victor Booth and all these other prisoners for a couple Americans from other countries that you know, and nothing against Brittany Griner, you know, because I'm in the same community as she is. But, you know, here's just a scenario for you, Rich. She got on a plane knowingly with hash oil, which is illegal, and she flew across state lines, and she flew across international lines, and she got caught in Russia. And she pled guilty, guilty, all right? And President Biden trips all over himself because she's wrongfully detained. Well, what the hell is I am doing in America? Am I not wrongfully detained because everybody admitted to perjury and a plot to kill me to start with? Or is the agenda that big?
It could be. Folks, we're on with Joe Exotic, the star of the hit Netflix series, The Tiger King. Now, Joe Exotic, I want you to let everybody know, obviously you don't, I know you get to do some interviews, but you don't get to do a ton, and this one's going to reach a lot of people. So for all the reporters that are listening that are going to report on this interview, what do you want them to know?
You know, the first thing I want them to know is what's going on is wrong, okay? Please, if you do anything, get on joeexoticofficial.com and look at the videos from the very people that put me here. Okay, and listen to the phone calls of them arguing with each other, admitting to raping girls and everything else. And ask yourself, is this really the Department of Justice that we want in America? That we're going to cover up all of this and we're going to let these people go so you can't pet a baby tiger in America? Is this really it?
Now, Joe,
I need a voice, and I need some help because I don't want to die in here, Rich, and that's where I'm headed.
I don't want you to die in there either. Now, listen, I hear you talking about Brittany Griner. You seem to be really up to speed on current events and news. How are you keeping touch? What do you have, TV, radio? What are you listening to?
Well, I mean, we have TVs in prison, and we have TVs here in the county jail, and I follow the news religiously, but, you know, I sleep with you in my ear.
That's awesome.
Every night. And, you know, between you and Dan Bongino and the Red Eye Radio, I listen. The inmates are up on the laws more than you think they are. And we're all disgusted of what's going on. And you know, President Trump is the first president in a while that's ever done anything called the First Step Act, you know, to help stop them. There's a couple laws. There's actually one law now called the Safe Detention Act that would actually cut me down and get me out of here in the next year, rather than sit here and wait for all of this slow if they would just get off their butt and do something. But they're too busy filling these places, and they're 8,000 employees short to run these places, and it's all going to hell.
Now, Joe Exotic, let's say your appeal goes well and maybe you're able to be moved or get out. What does the future look like for you? What is the next step on your agenda?
You know, right now, Rich, I'm hoping to call Fort Smith, Arkansas home, and I'm going to stay away from the animal side of the world. And I've been offered a world concert tour, and I'm going to take that. But my goal, my honest-to-God goal, is to testify in front of Congress.
To let them know what? About prison reform or about justice reform?
To let them know about prison and justice reform. You bet. They have. I sent out 537 letters to congressmen and senators 2 months ago. Not one response. These people have to wake up.
Folks in Congress, Joe Exotic's on the radio, and he's on with us now. You better give him a call or at least respond to his letters. Now, Joe Exotic, I know that I read an article recently, not that long ago, that said that you had been in some talks with a radio network to potentially become one of my competitors. What's up with that?
That's an article I missed.
Yeah, there is an article out there. It says Joe Exotic in talks with radio network to launch radio show from prison. I thought, oh my goodness.
Oh no, I've not heard that one.
Isn't it funny how there's articles about you that you have no idea that are going on?
Hey, what's even funnier is how many people are making stuff and selling it on the internet with my face and picture on it, and not a dime comes to me. You know, I didn't get a dime from Netflix.
Oh wow. Well, let me ask you this. No. If people that are listening to this show, we have about 5 million listeners, and we're on, 40-plus states.
This call will be terminated in 2 minutes.
How do they support you? What's the website? Where do they go to actually help you?
Okay, the best thing to do is to go to joeexoticofficial.com. There's a donate button there, and it goes strictly to my attorneys to help fight this legal battle. Nobody else has access to that. There's been a lot of fake places out there raising money and selling stuff for attorney fees, and that's all bogus. But
give them the website one more time.
joeexoticofficial.com.
joeexoticofficial.com.
It has everything on there, Rich. If your listeners do the math, there's 330,000 people in this country. And there's 165,000 people currently in federal prison. That's not people that have got out. That's not people waiting to come in. You have a 1 in 2,000 chance of being put in federal prison in this country before you.
This call will be terminated in 1 minute.
Joe Exotic, we're down to a minute, and I want to make sure that America knows where to find you. Again, it's joeexoticofficial.com, joeexoticofficial.com. Follow him on social media. And Joe Exotic, you are a gentleman, a scholar, an inmate, and a patriot. I want to thank you for being with us. Any final words?
Rich, I can't thank you enough, man. You're like my radio idol, and everybody just be my voice out there because it's election time and numbers scare politicians.
Amen to that. Thank you, Joe Exotic. Godspeed to you, sir.
Thank you, Rich. Bye-bye.
You bet.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5787. 5337 833 4Valdez. That's Valdez with an S. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, America, welcome back, amigos. Rich Valdez here with you straight to 1 a.m. Eastern time. And as we wrapped up that interview with Joe Exotic, that was really interesting. I'd never interviewed somebody from a federal penitentiary before. That was a first for me. I hope you enjoyed it. Very interesting stuff. Way more knowledgeable about current events than I expected him to be, being that he was incarcerated. That was an interesting twist. But another interesting twist, Sonny Hostin from The View. You know, this horrible show that everybody watches, but nobody wants to watch. Anyway, Sonny Hostin, she's a former prosecutor. She's on the show. And she says that she thinks that what happened to Trump is very appropriate. Now, she's not talking about the witch hunt going after him. She's actually talking about the reduction in the bond amount. Listen to this.
I think this will surprise people, but the lowering of the bond was very appropriate, right? We always say that we want everyone to be treated across the legal spectrum in the same way, and that we want the law to apply equally in the same way. Bonds are not supposed to be punitive. They are only supposed to make sure that the person returns to court and answers, you know, whatever charges have been alleged. He does have a valid appeal, as far as I can tell. It seems like he has a valid basis to appeal. And so what this judge said is, I'm going to take $175 million instead of over $400 million so that you can continue your appeal, so that you can continue living your life and doing your business. But to be clear, if he loses that appeal, they get to keep that $175 million, and then he got to pony up with the rest of the money. So this is how it is supposed to work. This is due process.
Thank you, Sonny.
I'm comfortable with it.
She's comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with it, too. Now, of course, this is her opinion that honestly does surprise me, because I think she typically is a malcontent naysayer that usually says things like, oh, you know what, people like Trump shouldn't receive the equal protection that the Constitution, promises all of us. She's that type of person, that type of vitriol. So honestly, kudos to you, Sonny Hostin, for getting one right. Even a broken clock is right at least twice a day. And I really am happy to see that. Now, the extent of this, I don't know. I mean, because if she really thought that we should have due process for everyone, then maybe we wouldn't even have half of the cases that Trump is involved in. But we'll take the win when we can get one. Folks, we're coming right back, continuing this discussion, possibly getting to a call or two. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, to the phones we go. Let's go to KDKA, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and check in with Jim. Your thoughts on the bridge collapse? What's up?
I think it was the terrorist attack, and I'll tell you the reason why. I was doing a little research in the last half hour, and they had a quote from the governor or someone in Maryland said there's no evidence of a terrorist attack. Now, think about it. They said it could be bad fuel, but there had to be at least 4 or 6 people on that bridge. It was in the middle of the night, and that's a key bridge.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I don't know that it's a terrorist attack. I just think that it's incredible how, hours after it happens, they come out, listen, no foul play. It was a total accident. I mean, maybe you can make that determination that quickly, but man, that was quick. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate the call. Folks are coming right back. I am Rich Valdez. Don't go anywhere.
From the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the program, hour number 2. If you'd like to join the late night conversation, feel free to do it. 833-4-VALDEZ is the phone number, 833-4-VALDEZ. And I want to get into a couple of quick headlines because in a little bit we're going to really break into this story. President Biden's pledged all the federal resources available to help rebuild in Baltimore following the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. There were multiple fatalities there, lots of injuries from those that were involved both on the boat and on the bridge. And we'll get into that with somebody who understands this and has had extensive involvement with the Department of Homeland Security at the bottom of the hour. The FBI has already made claims saying that there's no indication of terrorism. I mean, that was pretty quick. Oftentimes they do these investigations and they don't release that information that quickly, but it looks like it was very clear to them that this was just an accident. So we're going to find out. I'm somewhat skeptical, but I'm willing to take a look just because I've seen the video and it looks kind of crazy. Again, it's kind of surreal to see something like that. But by no means am I an expert witness on bridge collapses. But there's an update, right? Yesterday we talked about Sean Puff Daddy Combs, P. Diddy, the producer, rap mogul, hip-hop superstar, and his involvement in a sex trafficking federal case. And there was a raid on his home in Miami, a raid on his home or homes that are owned by his businesses in Los Angeles as well, and we played that report for you. Well, there's an update tonight because his attorney has spoken out saying this was heavy-handed. Check out this report.
An attorney for Sean Combs blasting federal agents who were at both residences yesterday in Miami and here in Los Angeles, blasting what they're calling a show of force by armed tactical agents. The attorney describing this as a witch hunt, saying that this was a gross overuse of military-level force. Still, he says that Combs is cooperating with investigators. I'll read you part of the statement. He goes on to say neither Mr. Combs nor any of his family members have been arrested, nor has their ability to travel been restricted in any way. There's been no finding of criminal or civil liability with any of these allegations. Mr. Combs is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name.
That is a report from Josh Campbell, again, with the quote from P. Diddy's attorney, Aaron Dyer, blasting the government for saying this was a very heavy-handed approach. And we've seen that before. Lots of people get, thrown to the ground and raided and whatnot. So I want to get to the bottom of this with somebody who knows this all too well. He's had a number of very high-profile clients, Harvey Weinstein among them, Ghislaine Maxwell. And this is none other than super lawyer Arthur Aidala out of New York City. He's managing partner at Aidala, Bertuna, and Kamens. He's the radio host on AM 970, The Answer in New York City. Really, really good guy. Arthur Aidala, welcome to the program, sir.
Hello, Rich, and it is an absolute honor and pleasure to be on with you.
My man. Good to hear your voice, my brother. So you heard the charge from Aaron Dyer, attorney for P. Diddy. Of course, you're a high dollar, top notch, loves to win defense attorney, and you obviously have a take on this. What do you think?
If you look at the vehicles that were used to execute this search warrant, it is so over the top.
You think they were doing it to Trump, right?
Oh my God! I mean, you think they were going to get Putin? And look, you know what happened about 24 hours ago here in New York City with the loss of life with a police officer that breaks up all of our hearts.
Officer Dillon, God rest his soul.
Save that kind of use of force for where it's necessary. This reminds me of the ridiculous, insane, over-the-top way they came after Roger Stone with helicopters and, I don't know, there was 70 armed guards around his house. Like, it's a 70-year-old dude who, can't even do 5 push-ups. I mean, what does he have, some arsenal in there? It is just a way of bullying and scaring and showing off, to be honest with you. And as citizens, we should be a little afraid of this. I mean, we should not be applauding this. This is not cool in any way, shape, or form. It's a search warrant. Typically, look, I represent Rudy Giuliani as well. I represent Rudy Giuliani in the Georgia case and in other matters. When they executed a search warrant on Rudy's house, on his apartment, you know what they did? They rang the bell for the doorman. They called up. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. They said, "Mr. Mayor, and we have a warrant to search your apartment to get your electronic
iPad,
device,
cell phones."
Right? Can we come? I was in the shower, Rich, and I'm like, I could see my phone ringing. It was like 6:15 in the morning. I'm like, why is my phone ringing at 6:15 in the morning? And it says on it, I have a little code name for him. I'm like, why is he calling me? And I'm thinking, it must be like a pocket dial or something. Right. And he tells me, he goes, "Arthur, the FBI is here." But I was like, okay, Mr. Mayor, just, let them in. And he stayed on the phone with me the whole time. It was like 4 of them or 6 of them. And Rudy sat on a couch. And he's like, "Look, there's my laptop. There's my this one. My iPad's in my top drawer. And here's my cell phone." And the whole thing was rather uneventful. There's no reason why they couldn't have done that with Sean Combs. It's just that, hey, it's Sean Combs. We know this is going to be a huge deal. So, let's make it a huge deal. And, look, this U.S. attorney, I don't seem to be a big fan of his. He is definitely a guy who's looking to do bigger and better things.
Is he out of L.A. or out of Miami?
He's neither. He's out of Manhattan, the Southern District.
Oh, SDNY. That doesn't surprise me.
Damian Williams, he's the same one who's gone after now. He tried to go after Giuliani, but there was nothing there. Then he tried to go after the mayor of the city of New York, Eric Adams. He's definitely looking to become, Mayor Damian Williams, Senator Damian Williams, judge of the Supreme Court. So, something. They're just so over the top with their use of force here, number one. So that's what P. Diddy's lawyer is saying. Number two, look, this is all spawned from a civil complaint, or a couple of them, that have been settled. And having been involved, forget about the criminal stuff, but the civil stuff, having been involved with a bunch of these civil claims, it is, a lot of them, Rich, they're just money grabs. In other words, we change the laws, and I get it. There are definitely people out there who repressed feelings or repressed situations, and they deserve help, and financial help is all they're able to get at this point. But, okay, that's fine. But then there's another group. Hey, look, I'll give you the perfect example. It's like with COVID, with the PPP money. Yes, there was a vast majority of people, like myself and my law firm, that benefited and were helped by the federal government giving us PPP money. And then there was that other handful of people who were absolute crooks, who made things up, who said they had losses that they didn't have, who said they had employees that they didn't have, and they stole money from the government. It's the same thing here. Some of these people who are making these claims are very legitimate, and you feel horrible for them if they were truly sexually assaulted in some fashion or another, and they deserve some financial compensation. And then there's other people like, wait, all I got to do is say that 37 years ago this happened, and I suffered from it, and I'm going to get a check for $1 million. Sign me up.
Right, and that's my opinion. I think we've seen this for a long time. I believe we saw that with Mike Tyson, and we've seen it over the years. But then there's cases like Bill Cosby and others where I think they probably are guilty as sin because that type of culture is pervasive in Hollywood.
But then these people, look, Bill Cosby's case got reversed. It got reversed for good reasons. Basically, the prosecutor calls in Bill Cosby. Okay, you just tell us everything that happened, and we'll sign this document with you that says you will not be prosecuted. Okay? Goes in, he tells them, and the current DA at that point does not prosecute him. But that DA's chief of staff, who was involved with all of this, then becomes the district attorney herself. And she's like, yeah, you know what? That document we signed with Bill Cosby, we're going to rip it up and go after him anyway.
Right,
and
became political again.
They did. He was found. First, it was a mistrial. They couldn't reach a unanimous verdict. Then they retried him again, and there was a unanimous verdict. And the court of their version of the Supreme Court, or the highest appellate court, said, you can't tell a citizen that if you tell us everything that happens, we're not going to prosecute you, and then 5 years later change your mind. If we do that, the whole system breaks down, Rich. Once you lose trust, once there's a loss of trust between the citizens and the government regarding our system of justice, whether it be the ridiculous way Donald Trump is being treated, to the way Bill Cosby was treated, and everything in between. So I've been screaming about this. Many, many, many people are rightly pissed off about the way Trump is being treated in some of these cases, like the Manhattan DA's office case, like the Georgia case. And I'm down with them being upset with that. But you also have to be upset the way Bill Cosby's non-prosecution agreement was ripped apart, the way Ghislaine Maxwell's non-prosecution agreement was torn apart, the way Harvey Weinstein, for the first time ever, had so many witnesses who were able to testify against him who he was never charged with. The judge allowed more women to testify about sexual acts than he was actually charged with. The first time that has ever happened in history. So, yes, we should be pissed off the way Donald Trump was treated, but we should be pissed off the way every American citizen is being mistreated when they are being mistreated by our system of justice.
Well put, Counselor. There's a reason why you're a high-priced defense attorney. Arthur Aidala, our guest, he's the host of an amazing radio show. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the work you've done on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, because, of course, I think I join many Americans in hating Jeffrey Epstein and what he's done. And I want to hear about some of the work you're doing in that case. Folks, we're coming right back with Arthur Aidala. I'm Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, familia, welcome back. We continue with our guest, Arthur Aidala, super duper attorney, defense attorney extraordinary. Arthur Aidala. Your client, Ghislaine Maxwell, the sex trafficking accomplice, as she's known in the media, to Jeffrey Epstein, is looking to overturn a conviction. You filed some papers. Walk us through this.
Well, the thing about the Ghislaine Maxwell case that's really upsetting is no one heard of her. No one knew her name. In none of the grand jury documentation, nowhere is she mentioned when Jeffrey Epstein is alive. None of the FBI reports have her name in there. And just wrap your brain around that. I mean, a year later, they make it out like she's the mastermind of everything. But the year before, when Jeffrey Epstein was there and he was able to be public enemy number one, her name is nowhere in the official documentation. Now, there's one or two reasons for that. Either, number one, she really wasn't that involved, or there was this non-prosecution agreement that Jeffrey Epstein had signed years earlier in 2007 when he pled guilty to the case down in Florida. And that non-prosecution agreement was not for him. It was for others who could be considered co-conspirators. So basically he said in the Florida case, okay, I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to plead guilty. But anyone who could be considered a co-conspirator can never be prosecuted by the United States, meaning the feds. So when he gets charged, she's not charged and she's not mentioned. Now, Rich, there's one or two reasons why. Either they believed they were handcuffed by that non-prosecution agreement that Jeffrey Epstein signed and the U.S. Attorney of Florida signed, or she wasn't involved. But as you know, Rich, covering these stories over and over again, when they arrest the top person they arrest everyone around them because they don't need the top person to cooperate. Sometimes they'll arrest the bottom person, hoping that the bottom person flips and cooperates and leads them to the top person. But when they get the top person, and, you know, I know you're old enough to know who John Gotti was, like, you know, they didn't arrest just John Gotti. They arrested John Gotti and the 5 guys around him. When they arrested Jeffrey Epstein, they only arrested him. And as they said, Ghislaine Maxwell's nowhere to be seen or heard from or anything until he's dead. And then all of a sudden, she basically becomes his proxy. She becomes, because the feds have spent millions of hours, manpower, woman power, and like, what are they going to do? Like, oh, guy killed himself. Well, he won, right? He won. He gets to go fly off with the angels in heaven, and we did all this work and we got nothing. So they had to find someone else.
Right. Somebody's got to pay the pound of flesh.
Right. And here's why people should be annoyed. It's a sex trafficking ring of women, and the only human being winding up charged and penalized is a woman. Not one guy gets accused of anything. Not one guy gets arrested, gets indicted, nothing. It's one woman. And again, Rich, I know, you know, I sound like some bleeding heart. If you heard my show tonight, like praying for the police and saying how we need to fight crime harder and harder, you know that that's not who I really am. But I will tell you this, and this is another thing that Americans, all of us, should be really upset about. During the period of Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, she was literally tortured. Literally tortured. And it's
like
on the
waterboarded?
No, like no food, no sleep. They woke her up, like shook her every 15 minutes. Ghislaine, wake up. Ghislaine, wake up. Pounding on the bars just because, number one, they were afraid, I guess, I don't know, that she was going to sneak off and try to kill herself like Epstein did because they were so embarrassed that he killed himself on her watch. But one day, it's in the court record where, because we didn't try her case, but obviously we spoke to her lawyers and everything. They're like, Judge, she is so weak she can't even stay up. You know, can we give her a protein bar? And the judge goes, oh, I'm sure she's getting enough nourishment in jail. And they're like, no, she's not. And let's just say, Rich, she's guilty as sin. Let's just, and I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
The fact that in the United States of America, that's how we're going to treat people, we might as well be China. We might as well be Turkey. We might as well be Korea. Like, we're supposed to be better than that. We're supposed to live by the edict, you know, innocent until proven guilty, due process of law, you know, equal protection under the laws. If we become a society where society says, oh, that's a bad person, they're not entitled to constitutional rights, but this is a good person, and they are, we're messed up. And we should use your friend Donald Trump as an example, because as you know, there's people who really, really don't like Donald Trump. And they think, oh, it's okay that he's
it's okay to go after him if you don't like him.
Right, exactly.
And that's wrong.
And we can't,
I'm with you.
We can't
the music means they're kicking us out, Arthur. Quickly, tell everybody how they find you, how they listen to your show.
Just look for Arthur Aidala, Aidala, every night, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m., AM 970, Answer, New York City.
Live every night, Arthur Aidala. Arthur, you're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. I love you, brother. God bless you.
Thanks so much. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, brother. We're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, America, welcome back. And again, the biggest story of the day today is this bridge collapse after it was hit by a cargo ship in Baltimore. Some people say it looks like the ship hit it on purpose. And again, you would think that these concrete pillars that, you know, are dug into the sea floor would withstand this stuff. But, you know, silly old us, right? Now, It would not surprise me if we found out that there was some foul play. What I find interesting is that they're saying there's no foul play. Now, I don't want to trivialize something where people lost their lives. I don't want to immediately activate my tinfoil hat. I want to weigh the facts. And we have some clips of audio of the actual report of Biden's response and some of the other officials' response. I want you to listen to this.
I need one of you guys on the south side, one of you guys on the north side, hold all traffic on the Key Bridge. There's a ship approaching. It just lost their steering. So until you get that under control, we got to stop all traffic.
Yeah, I'm en route to the south side.
Dispatch start.
I'm holding traffic now. I was dragging, but we stopped prior to the bridge, so I'll have all outer loop traffic stopped.
10-4. Is there a crew work on the bridge right now?
I'm on the video.
Good.
Want me to stop traffic on this site right now?
Yeah, if we can stop traffic, just make sure no one's on the bridge right now. I'm not sure where. There's a crew up there. You might want to notify whoever the foreman is, see if we can get them off the bridge temporarily.
10-4. Once the other unit gets here, I'll ride up on the bridge. I have all inner loop traffic stopped at this time. Once you get here, I'll go grab the workers on the Key Bridge and then stop the outer loop.
C-13 dispatch, the whole bridge just fell down. Start, everybody. The whole bridge just collapsed.
Simple dispatch is direct.
That's correct. This time.
Do we know if all traffic was stopped?
I can't get to the other side, sir. The bridge is down. We're going to have to get somebody on the other side, the Anne Arundel County MSP, to get up here and stop traffic coming northbound on the T Bridge.
C-13, I'm holding all traffic northbound.
Now, you hear this report. It's disturbing to hear the entire bridge came down. If you hear that and watch the video at the same time and see what looks like, I remember making out of wooden popsicle sticks and wood glue a bridge as a school project a million years ago. And I remember after the glue dries, it holds together, but if you hit it a little bit hard, it falls right apart. This is what that looked like. The whole thing kind of shattered. Now, there's reports that the ship had some pre-existing issues with the actual ship. I can't, again, I'm no expert in this, but this just looks like an absolute tragedy. And I understand that, the law enforcement, federal law enforcement is saying that there's no indication of terrorism. And I'm glad that there's not. I don't want there to be. I just find it so interesting how sometimes, we quickly have a call for terrorism and they're like, it's this, it's that. And it turns out to not be those things. And here they're making the call in the opposite direction, saying it's not anything. And without any real investigation. I mean, I was around when there were airplanes that flew into the World Trade Center. Now, some people say nothing flew into the World Trade Center. It was really a missile. They blew those buildings up. It was a controlled demolition. Others say, yeah, the plane. I happened to be watching from my window, and I could see them from my window. And without question, I saw that building disappear. So be that as it may, some people thought that was simply a plane that had gone off track and hit the Empire State Building. The initial report was it was a biplane, a Cessna that had hit the building. Turns out it was a 747. So I'm taking this through the lens of historical analysis and thinking, you know what? I want to make sure that we have the story right. So one of the things that I want to get to is an analysis of this. And I want you to briefly hear President Biden's remarks, and we'll do that in the next segment. But our guest is very well versed in this. He's the Director of Safety and Security for the International Association of Venue Managers and represents the Department of Homeland Security Office of Infrastructure Protection. Mark Herrera, welcome to the program. Let's get to the bottom of this. this ship rams into this major bridge, and it's very busy. And I've been hearing experts all day, and everybody's saying pretty much the same thing. I keep hearing the same thing. These things happen all the time. I guess this is just the first time I'm seeing it. I've heard that the ship was massively large, and because it was so large, it was able to shatter this bridge completely. Are you of that same opinion, or do you think this is as surreal as I think it is?
Listen, Rich, I can tell you right now, we leave our homes every single day. We expect and anticipate that it's just going to be another great day. There's going to be absolutely zero risk. Unfortunately, That's not the case. And in this particular case, yes, it was an unexpected occurrence, undoubtedly. But the problem here is that where there have been incidents and accidents involving cargo ships before, there, to my knowledge, this is the first one that I've seen that has been as devastating to the point that it completely dismantled this entire bridge. And there's many factors that go into investigating this thing. Again, you're talking about an investigation to a bridge collapse that was struck by a ship, and it's going to take a comprehensive examination of various factors to kind of determine the cause and kind of the contributing factors of the incident. But one of the things that they ruled out is based on the fact that they were called in a mayday was that everything went dark. If that was the case, that could have easily caused that ship to lose propulsion. If it lost propulsion, then that could have deviated the ship off of its normal path and into the supporting beam or pier of that particular bridge.
Now, when a ship loses propulsion, is this something that would happen because of an engine failure, or is this something that could happen as a result of some sort of other type of malfunction?
A little bit of both. So we're talking about, could it have potentially been human error? Absolutely. Are they going to investigate that? Of course. That's part of that root cause analysis. Or could it have been just a malfunction of the vessel itself? That's another possibility. So what they'll be able to do is take data and information, potentially even off the internal computers of that particular vessel or ship, to determine exactly what went wrong in regards to the malfunction. Once they determine that, then they'll be able to determine, was it an actual maintenance or malfunction issue versus human error?
Man, it sounds like there's and this is what I guess my initial point, where it sounds like one would think, if there's a car accident on the highway not far from where I live, they shut down the highway for half a day or until the next day if it's a fatal accident, and they're conducting this investigation, and they gather the facts. I'm guessing the same is going to happen in this investigation. It's going to take quite a while. With that being said, is this something that is a common occurrence, that ships are losing propulsion and then I guess they lose their steering ability and then they can't turn away from hitting a bridge?
I wouldn't say that is a common. I personally don't hear of that often, right? So I couldn't say that is a common. I'd have to do a little bit of due diligence and research to determine if indeed this happens frequently with some of these cargo ships. But for me to go out there and say, yeah, it is a common event that takes place would be very misleading.
Right. So, okay. So based, and again, you're the pro, I'm a radio guy, but I'm just trying to get a sense of it, because I'd never seen something this severe. I think some of the reports I've seen initially indicate that there was a similar case of the USS John McCain some years ago that also lost propulsion and hit another structure, and that was similar to this. And my thinking is, how do you avoid these things? Could this have been something that was done externally, like via remote control from maybe a foreign enemy, or is that too much, pie in the sky type of thinking?
Rich, I love to sometimes overthink these things and play the devil's advocate. In this particular case, I think you're going to see that it's probably going to lead towards more of a malfunction than anything else. But again, that root cause is going to determine that. Now, listen, Rich, sometimes you have these vessels that may hit these piers and these supporting structures and nothing happens. So what you got to look at is a forensic analysis of structure. It's called a forensic analysis of structural integrity. What that means is that they're going to need to conduct a structural engineering analysis of the bridge to determine the extent of the damage and the mode of failure. They will examine, Rich, the design, the construction. They're going to look at the maintenance history of the bridge for any potential weaknesses or deficiencies. They're going to assess the impact of the ship collision on the structural integrity of the bridge, including the forces exerted at the point of impact. And when they do that, they're going to be able to determine, was there an integrity issue or concern with the structure on that particular bridge that maybe it didn't take great force. And it all boils down to the type of cargo that you're carrying and the type of weight and also the speed associated with it as well. So those are the things that they're going to really be looking at, including human factors and operational considerations.
Makes sense to me. Mark Herrera, Director of Safety and Security for the International Association of Venue Managers, representing the Department of Homeland Security, Office of Infrastructure Protection. I want you to stick with us. I want to ask you a couple of more questions. I think I'm getting a better understanding of what's going on, and I think you're really filling in our listeners as well. Folks, we're coming right back with Mark Herrera. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
So glad to be on your show, Rich. It's just an amazing broadcast that I hope the rest of America listens to every day.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Part of our investigation will be how was this bridge constructed? It will look at the structure itself. Should there be any sort of safety improvements? All that will be part of our investigation. We go very broad in our investigation.
That is Jennifer Hamady. She's chair of the National Transportation Safety Bureau, and she says that the investigators are going to be looking at the bridge structure. I think obviously you've got to look at what's left of it. I want to go back to our guest, Mark Herrera, International Association of Venue Managers. Let me ask you, obviously whatever's left of this structure they're going to investigate. But how much of the investigation would focus on what they hit as opposed to, who did the hitting, I don't know, checking to see if somebody was substance abuse, alcohol, that type of thing, or mechanical issues?
There's going to be an equal amount of weight in regards to the investigation of all of those that you just mentioned, Rich. The first thing that they're going to do is obviously take a look at the crew. Right, they're going to take a look at who was piloting this particular vessel. And again, typically when you take a look at policies and procedures, if you're involved in an accident, well, in many occasions you go through a drug test immediately, right? I mean, there's certain protocols that companies go through to assure that it's about clearing the employee, making sure that there wasn't any wrongdoing. So there is typically an investigation. There is always an investigation regarding the crew members just to make sure that everything was okay with them. But at the same time, they are going to take a look at, they're going to compile all of the findings into what is a comprehensive report that's detailing the probable cause of the bridge collapse. And in this case, we know what it was, right? But they're going to make, if there's anything that was that the crew might have been, or the human error side of things, there will be recommendations for corrective actions to prevent these types of incidents in the future, including, improvement of bridge design, navigation procedures, any regulatory oversight. And of course, they're going to communicate these findings to all the relevant stakeholders, including government agencies. The public needs to know, and obviously industry organizations. Remember, they classified this as a mass destruction, right? So overall, Rich, an investigation into this bridge collapse that was struck by a ship is going to go through a thorough, multidisciplinary approach, including all factors that's involving the expertise in structural engineering, maritime operations, human factors, environmental science is going to be involved. Was there regulatory compliance with an ultimate goal to identify the root cause of what took place so that they could prevent these similar incidents from occurring in the future?
Now, Mark Herrera, great response. I think it's really helped us to understand what's going on. Question for you on your background and whatnot. When you were a little kid, did you grow up wanting to be, involved with the International Association of Venue Managers? How'd you know you wanted to get into this line of work?
I didn't expect that question, Rich, but I will answer it. Rich, I have been very blessed to have a desire to make a difference in people's lives, and that is a big reason why I went into police work. Ended up going to working for the Department of Homeland upon retiring, and the motivating factor for me was I was a dad raising my son, who is way better than I could have been, and he is as well as is way above and beyond better than I am. As he's a true leader. So, we developed each other as we were growing up. But I tell you right now, my focal point was actually not only developing people such as my kiddo, but also taking my level of expertise to a whole different, so that I could help those that were securing basically other entities, organizations as well. So it's just been a passion of mine, Rich. But I never, from DHS, imagined going to the International Association of Venue Managers, where I oversee all of the security functions, and I conduct all of the live training pretty much worldwide on, active threat, active shooter, de-escalation strategies and techniques, how to build resilient security and guest service culture. That's my responsibility.
Well, it sounds like a lot to do in a day's work. Mark Herrera, you are a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. I want to thank you for staying up late and chatting with us.
Rich, it's my pleasure, and I want to thank you for keeping the public informed. And again, hopefully I was able to meet and or exceed your expectations this evening.
Oh, you bet. And we'll definitely have you back. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions that you'll have the answers to, and we'll be chatting again.
Thank you, Rich. Have a good night.
Bet. God bless. All right, folks, we're coming back your way. A couple of more things before we kick off Open Phone America. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, America, welcome back. And Open Phone America is kicking off right now. We're going to get to your calls and more, and we're talking about everything we've discussed tonight, whether you had a response, reaction to our interview from prison with Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, or you want to talk about what's going on with Trump and this new gag order that they've imposed upon him. We're going to get into that. As well as the Ghislaine Maxwell case, the Puff Daddy case. You heard an alternative view today from defense attorney Arthur Aidala saying it's much to do about maybe something, but not necessarily something. Whereas, somebody like me quickly will say, no, they're trying to cover up the child trafficking. How dare you? And I try to keep an open mind. So I'm going to have that discussion with you as well as what do you think about the bridge? I'm not sold on the fact that they were able to make that determination so quickly, but it makes sense thus far. Let's see what we have in store. Open Phone America, 833-4VALDEZ, 833-4VALDEZ. You know the number. Give us a call. Of course, big shout out to the legendary line here, 866-50-JIMBO. All right, folks, we're coming right back. Don't go anywhere. It's me, Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to Hour 3 of the program. Happy to be with you this evening. And looking forward to your calls, 833-4-VALDEZ. This is our late-night national town hall conversation. We call it Open Phone America, and it's where you get to call in and share your thoughts and opinions on all of the hot news stories of the evening. We do it live every evening, and I'm happy that you're a part of it tonight. I see that we have almost a complete call board, so I'm going to keep my commentary short to make sure I give you guys time so we can chat it up a little bit. But part of what I want to talk about tonight is there's a few things I didn't get to earlier in the hours. Of course, we did talk about the bridge collapse. The bridge collapsed out. It's a big deal. It's the biggest story in America right now. And Baltimore Bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, was hit by a cargo ship. And it's probably best summed up by Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who gave some comments on that today. I want you to check this out.
This is no ordinary bridge. This is one of the cathedrals of American infrastructure. It has been part of the skyline of this region for longer than many of us have been alive. So the path to normalcy will not be easy. It will not be quick. It will not be inexpensive. But we will rebuild together.
Now, as they talk about rebuilding, President Biden's committed to rebuilding. Listen to this.
Do you plan to go to Baltimore, sir? And if so, how quickly?
I do, and as quickly as I can. That's what
you said the federal government's also going to pay for the repairs. I'm just curious. This was a ship that appears to be at fault. Is there any reason to believe that the company behind the ship should be held responsible? And then also, you mentioned...
That could be, but we're not going to wait for that to happen. We're going to pay for it to get the bridge rebuilt and open.
Well, there you have it. Joe Biden committing almost immediately. We're going to fix this bridge. This is coming right back. Again, still something that seems odd to me that he would respond so quickly. Half of Hawaii burned down. We had that train derailment in East Palestine. And that, I think he didn't go there until, I don't know, a year after the fact or close to it. Amazes me that now he's like, we're quickly, very quick, we're on it. Are we on it? I mean, how do you go from falling up the stairs, eating your ice cream, being half asleep, getting lost, having the Easter Bunny give you directions while you chant about having hairy legs and saying that people aren't black if they don't vote for you, and quickly, immediately, decisively saying we're gonna fix this bridge, even if the other guy's at fault, even if insurance can fix it, who knows what, we're fixing it. I don't know. It just doesn't add up to me. And I'm not trying to promote any type of conspiracy here. I'm really not. I'm just saying this stuff just doesn't add up. It's kind of like when Mayorkas says the border is secure. We have operational control of the border. And then you hear about everybody that's getting robbed and killed and shot at in New York City and people that are getting raped and maimed all over the place. And you think, how is all of that possible if we have operational control of the border? Well, obviously, because we don't have it. Anyway, I want to get your thoughts on this and everything else that's going on in America at night. 833-4-VALDEZ. Let us go to the phones. Egg Harbor, New Jersey, WOND. Let's check in with Denise. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hi. First of all, I'm very familiar with that bridge because I was in the Army and I was stationed at Fort Myer. So from Fort Lee, going from Fort Lee to Fort Myer, I used to take either the tunnel or the bridge. And it's very sad. But I have to tell you, I remember from about 20 years ago, I don't have my computer because I'm up at my son's in Richfield, but I have to look this up. About 20-some years ago, there was a similar accident where a tanker was going through a water passage, and instead of making a right turn, it went into a V, and it went to the left of the V, and it hit a bridge. I can't remember where it was, but it was massive. I think about 1999 or 2000, something like that. And it was on the news every day. But it was similarly the mistake of boating error.
So human error from those that were driving or navigating the boat. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about this. All I know is that this type of thing shouldn't happen. You would think we have GPS, that we have this, we have that. It's kind of like when this stuff happens with a plane. You think, don't these planes fly themselves for the most part? As long as you have a pilot that isn't drunk, we should be okay. As long as Boeing made, a double check on the screws that are in the door. Presuming we've done that, this should be a pretty smooth sailing type of flight. But apparently it's not. Now, again, I'm not trying to be facetious in any way. If it came across that way, I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just, it's really incredulity. I'm just shocked that this type of thing is still happening because, my car, and I don't have a very fancy, a very advanced car. It's not brand new. It's a really nice car, but it's not brand new. And it has all these really cool features. Like if my car just goes out of the lane that it's in, the steering wheel automatically corrects itself. If I'm, God forbid, not paying attention and there's a car in front of me, the car stops by itself. It will not rear end the car in front of me. There's all sorts of safety sensors and gadgets in regular passenger vehicles. I can't imagine how we don't have those things on ships. Now, somebody could say, well, we do have those things on ships. This just happened to be a malfunction of those things. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Denise, thank you for your call. Always a pleasure to speak with you. I always appreciate that. And let us continue with your calls. Let's go to my buddy Paul, Zanesville, Ohio, right in the middle of the country, WHIZ. Paul, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's happening, Rich? Just listened to your excellent show tonight.
Well, thank you, bro.
I have a couple of things for you. Yes, sir. That kind of looked to me like I watched that several times on that, the ship hitting the bridge. It kind of looked to me like a mechanical failure. Number one, if it was a terrorist, don't you think that maybe they would have planned out a little better? They did it at 1:30 in the morning, or it happened at 1:30 in the morning. Don't you think they'd have done it when there was like 30, I guess there's 30 or 40,000 cars past that, every day, and I would think that, that rules out terrorists for me, but you never know. I could be wrong. But what I think it was is I think maybe it was a combination of mechanical failure and maybe the captain and his crew, because here's what I observed. You ever seen a diesel motor fire up, Rich? And when it does, a lot of times, and a lot of motors,
they're loud.
Yeah, and they'll put a bunch of smoke out. Now, maybe a minute or two before that ship hit that, there was a big old poof of smoke come out of there. Okay, and that tells me by logic that maybe that captain was trying to refire some motors, because the lights went out, they came on. They went out, they came on. Generators. That's what they use on ships. So what it looks like to me happened was he tried to fire his motors. He couldn't get them fired. It's pitch black out there. He didn't know where he was at, and he slammed into it. That's just what I think. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's more of that than a terrorist attack, because my wife right away, terrorist attack. I said, well, they didn't get very many people, which I don't want to tell the terrorists anything. We don't want that to happen. But that's my theory.
Yeah,
and I got one more thing for you, if you got time.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, now you was talking to the gentleman. I never watched him much or anything, or never knew much about him, the exotic animal guy that's in prison there now. Now, we had an interesting thing going here years ago in Zanesville, Ohio, with this gentleman named Terry Thompson. And he was an ordinary character. He's dead now, so, he's deceased, so I don't mind saying his name. But he had all kinds of exotic animals on his farmland. And it's like, I guess it wasn't a farmland. What would you call it? Like a reserve, not something like that. But the man had money. But anyway, they all got loose one day. And we was actually under pretty much a lockdown in Zanesville, Ohio, because tigers, lions, snakes, bears, whatever. He had all kinds of exotic animals, and they made us lock our doors and everything. But they ended up having to shoot and kill all of them. But I kind of give kudos to that guy in prison there, because it sounds to me like he's being unjustly accused, or unjustly, how do I want to say this? He's accused, but he's already in prison just by being accused. It's hard for me to put it, because I think maybe a little bit that happened to Terry too, because a lot of stories were flying around, and I don't know what's up with this DOJ system. I think more inquiries need to be done to them. Our justice system. Look what they're doing to Trump. But that was just my spiel for tonight. And like I said, as usual, I like your show, Rich. I love your show.
Thank you, Paul. There's no show without you guys, the listeners. And just, before I let you go, quick response to those things. Yeah, with response to the terrorist stuff, I don't know. I mean, there's some of the stuff, I have a very close connection to this conspiracy world. I get very quick real-time updates. And part of what they're telling me is that, this is one of two things. This is, and I'm not endorsing this, and I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying food for thought. It's an interesting thing, if nothing else, that this was an inside job designed to continue to take attention away from the disaster at the border. Maybe I believe it, maybe I don't. I'm going to lean towards, I think I'm not sold on that yet. And that these types of things are engineered so that we can spend the next 10 days on a story like this and try to, gain momentum on that, allow Biden to gain some numbers, maybe start immediately speaking and responding to this crisis, try to prop himself up as a leader, and try to, start changing, the polls and the trajectory of things. That's one. Another one is that terrorist attacks are not what they used to be. Today, terrorist attacks look like hacking in the form of X, Y, and Z, whether it's ransomware, malware, solar winds. I mean, we've seen so many different attacks, and it's cyber terrorism. And that cyber terrorism can also derail a ship and crash it into a bridge. And that may have been the result of that, somebody threatening the American government saying, hey, we want our money. Oh, no, you don't give us money? Let me show you what we're going to do with your big boat. And this is just a sample of what we can do. Next time, pay attention. Now, maybe I'm watching too many movies. I didn't come up with that theory on my own. Again, that's my conspiracy friends telling me what's going on. So I say I'm open to listening to those theories, but I'm not going to sit here and promote them as fact because I don't know that they're fact. But interesting nonetheless. So I don't know if they're always about that. And when you look at and again, these people are getting these ideas from where, Paul? They're getting them from Barack Hussein Obama because he became a filmmaker, right? He scored a big deal with Netflix. And in his Netflix, the movie that he assisted to produce, something about the end of the world or before the end of the world, that's what they do, right? They take over ships, airplanes, and electric vehicles. And they make them all crash into each other and all sorts of mayhem erupts. And this is all part of terrorist attack, kind of like an end days terrorist attack in this Obama movie. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know much about that, but that's why I'm asking as many questions as I am. And I'm remaining, I'm not going to say skeptical, but I'm going to use a healthy dose of skepticism to try to get to the bottom of what's going on. Paul in Zanesville, Ohio, thank you for your call, WHIZ. Big shout out to you. Folks, we come back with the rest of your calls and more. We got calls from Connecticut, Arkansas, Alabama, Idaho, San Francisco, California, and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Valdez, who again will do a fine job, and I know you'll enjoy listening to him.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back, America. We continue with our conversation with the rest of our neighbors across this beautiful country, and we're going to go to Alabama, checking in with Sandra in Dothan, Alabama, WDBT. Sandra, what say you about the bridge?
Well, here's my thing about the bridge thing, and I listened to the gentleman that called in and said about human error and about mechanical error, which very well that could be. And if it is proven that's what it is, then I don't think we should have to pay for this bridge. I think we need to go ahead and build it. You got 31,000, I think it's something like 31,000 cars a day cross that bridge, so it has to be rebuilt, but I don't think they should be let off the hook. People have lost their lives. Somebody's going to have to take care of their families. Is it going to be us? I mean, it said that, or what I read online was that there were people, I don't know if they were citizens or not, but they were from Mexico, Venezuela, here, there, whatever. But somebody's going to be suing somebody to take care of these families. So I'm just saying, I think that Biden, I'm like you, or what was reported, that he jumped in right away. I think it's only been, in the last few months, he finally made it over to Pennsylvania, there at the Pennsylvania line, to what happened with the train crash over there. So, yeah, it's kind of funny. In 2 seconds, he can pop up with this. We do have to build it. But I think if it's an error, then this company should have to pay for this. I mean, if they don't, we're being made a patsy every day of the week by somebody, by some country or something, that we're always stepping up to the plate and paying for it. We don't even have the money to pay for anything anymore. We're in tremendous debt. So I just wanted your opinion on that.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one from a very simple fiscal conservative standpoint, right? I think, look, if first of all, if I'm outside driving my car, and again, or driving my boat, and I hit something, my insurance has to pay for it, right? That's property damage. That's what we have coverage for on our collision policies. Now, I can only imagine if you're driving a tanker that's 150 feet wide, the size of, 3 football fields or whatever. This is a huge, huge tanker. If you're driving this thing, piloting, navigating, whatever the word is, excuse me, if you crash, you need to fix it. Now, if Biden's going to say, look, we're going to fix this, and then we're going to subordinate that to them and say, hey, look, I just laid out $4 million to fix this. You owe me $4 million. That's a different story. But I don't think that's what he's saying. He seems like he's jumping, right? It's kind of like his opening to the State of the Union, saying, hey, listen, we got to get more money to Ukraine. Excuse me, sir. Hold on. How'd we get there? And this is the same thing. It's kind of like whiplash. Like, hold on a second. Don't we have all these other pressing matters? Don't we have a absolute disaster at the border that's spilling over into every other aspect of our society? Looking at some of the headlines today. You got Puff Daddy. RFK Jr. has announced a VP pick. NBC News wants to part ways with Ronna McDaniel after, a day? Because nobody liked her there. Trump was hit with a gag order. Bridge collapse. There's a stripper's Bill of Rights in Washington. Oh, my gosh. And here we go. This is the one I'm looking for. Illegal immigrant kills woman in Michigan carjacking. Every day, or at least every week, there is an crazy, absolutely insane murder story that has to do with an illegal immigrant. This is a huge crisis, and nothing's happening. So you're going to tell us the American taxpayer, has to foot the bill? I think not, Joe El Baboso Biden. Thank you for your call, Sandra in Dothan, Alabama, WDBT. Getting to the rest of your calls and more straight ahead, 833-4-VALDEZ, 833-4-VALDEZ. Don't go anywhere.
There's more news in your commentary, in your analysis, than there is on the news network.
America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, America, welcome back. Let's go to Connecticut to Mike in Old Saybrook, listening online, richvaldez.com. Mike, go right ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Rich?
Good, thank you.
Hey, great job taking over for the Great Bohanna.
Thank you.
And thank you for being, a truth sayer. I don't want to call you a journalist because I believe that would be an insult.
No, thanks. Yeah, definitely not. I share my opinions and on the broadcast, and I appreciate that. I'm definitely not a journalist, and it's nice of you to say that, Mike. Tell me, what's on your mind in Connecticut tonight?
Well, I think your other callers did a good job articulating what I wanted to say. it struck me, as you said in the beginning, very oddly, they were very quick. Biden and Beetlejuice were very quick to talk about, hey, we're going to rebuild the bridge. There's a lot of families that are not going to be able to afford to bury their loved ones. And I just wish the message from our president would have been, hey, the bridge will get rebuilt, but first we're going to focus on the families.
Right. And, sadly, Mike, this is him. He's always tone deaf. He's always that guy that is just always wrong. I don't know how else to put it. It's like he just has bad judgment. And I understand, right? In life, we have philosophical differences with people. There are times where we think, I think we should go right. No, we should go left. I think we should go up. No, I think we should go down. I was married once, right? I was married for 10 years, and that was me and my ex-wife and I. We literally could see the same thing and see it so differently. We were just so different in everything we did. And that's how I see Joe Biden. But what's interesting about Joe Biden is that he wasn't always this guy. There were times where he, and I've got all these audio clips. You got to wait. I'm going to play one for you in a moment. Matter of fact, maybe we'll play it now. Just let me know when you have it, Tom. 2007 Biden last night list. And let me tell you, it amazes me that Joe Biden is able to flip-flop the way he does. And I understand why. There was an ultimatum for him, right? Like, look, we'll let you win because it seems like you can be the consensus candidate that we can create if you adhere to our left-wing policies, because Bernie Sanders was going to run away with this nomination, or at least was going to try, and was, probably going to just screw, a little bloodbath between the two of them, and not going to get anywhere. Either way, it was a win for Trump. And it didn't become a win for Trump because of, whatever your opinion is. But ultimately, my point is Biden flip-flops in an amazing way. And it's a little bit of a change in topic here because it goes to immigration as opposed to this government paying for the bridge. But, Mike, I want you to listen to Biden in 2007 and tell me if that's not something many people could agree with. Listen to this.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need. Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy. Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
There you go. He's saying I would not allow a sanctuary city to exist. I would not allow them to ignore the federal law, meaning local law enforcement would work with ICE to deport people. Yet here we are many years later. And voila, not that many years later, but some years later, and not even 2 decades later. And voila, you've got Biden that is now the biggest, sure, come one, come all, nothing happening at the border. Mike, it's absolute insanity.
No, I apologize, but I just spit up in my mouth a little bit. And I'll tell you, I think you've mentioned this on your show before. And the sad thing is, I was born in the mid-'60s, grew up in the 70s and 80s, grew up in a conservative Republican household. But back then, there was Democrats, there was Republicans, and they could meet on many, many, many things, like halfway. Right. It wasn't this extreme. I have Democratic friends that are very reasonable people, but there's this other sect of just, Rich, it's terrible, man.
Looney Tunes.
Terrible.
It really is. No, and this is what one of our guests was talking about this last night about the infiltration of communism in today's culture. This is what it is. I'm not saying these are all communist ideas, although some of them have their roots in that. But this is how a communist revolution starts to take shape when you have such disparity between the masses of people and this ruling class, and then they start to brainwash the rest of the people, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Who would have thought, Mike, that you would have teachers that say these crazy things that they say?
I'll tell you, my kids. I've paid all the way through. My son's graduating from Catholic University this year. I've paid for Catholic school. I'm not Catholic, but I've paid for Catholic school since they were able to go to school, worth every single penny of it. Every penny for what they got from it. Hey, I want to throw you. I was going to throw you a little bit of a curveball, but
go ahead.
Well, so if all this stuff, they reduced Trump's thing to 175 million, whatever. How do you think that affects like the overall picture of what leftists think of Trump now? Because he got some type, a little bit of a break.
Well, it's interesting. I think they're split on it from what I could see. I think some people are saying, oh, there he is again, challenging the system, cheating the system. Here, this guy doesn't pay his taxes. Now he always figures out how some loophole, right? There's pure hatred, people that are just unreasonable. You can't deal with people like that. They're not serious. But there are some people out there, like Sunny Hostin, who I would typically write off, the woman from The View with Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar. I would normally write her off as a Looney Tune because she's not ever willing to engage in any type of meaningful discussion. But today, she changed her tune. She really had a different idea, saying that she thinks it's fair that would allow Trump access to the legal system, and that she believes that everyone should have an equal opportunity within the legal system, right? Equal protection under the law. Go figure. And I don't know if she's doing it to score points. I don't know if she's actually finally waking up and she's saying, wow, you know what? I guess this was fair. That maybe at some point she realizes I can't continually argue against Trump because it's going to undermine my own credibility. I have to, I don't know if she's really thinking or she's just playing it off so that she can, sometimes you say things that'll piss people off. That just happens, right? That's part of it. It's like, when I say certain things that people go, oh, Rich, I thought you were a good conservative. 9 times out of 10, I usually am. Every now and again, I'm going to say something that you may not like, like to the It's America Speak English crowd. I speak 3 different languages, and I love speaking all of them. I think speak whatever you want. I believe in liberty. People should do what they want to do as long as it doesn't mess with somebody else and it doesn't violate anything. Have at it, right? So I'm very liberty-oriented, libertarian, if you will, on certain issues. But Joy Behar here seemed to come across in a very fair way. And I commend her for it because, I'll take the win when we can get it. But I'm only going to give her, 24, 48 hours, Mike, and I'm pretty sure she'll be back to her old tricks. So collectively speaking, I don't know how the left handles it, but I can tell you, I think that she's beginning to understand that this is overboard. And when you go overboard with things, you're overboard, and that's it. Mike, I'd love to play that audio, but I got to take a quick commercial here. Folks are coming back with the rest of your calls and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
And so what's happening is, if you know anything about United States immigration law, it says that you can present yourself at any port of entry for asylum. That doesn't necessarily mean just the Texas border, even though that's all we ever talk about. You can present yourself anywhere within the United States and say, hey, I'm here seeking asylum. And so now you have migrants that may be afraid of Texas law enforcement telling them the wrong things, doing the wrong things, or the fact that they're saying they're going to arrest them.
That is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett from Texas. She's a Democrat that was on with CNN yesterday. Very upset about illegal immigrants being potentially afraid of Texas law enforcement. Now, I I will make this statement blindly and say it was my understanding of asylum law that I only reviewed once or twice for a guest that we had on, but that it was not that you could present yourself at any port of entry, but that you had to present yourself at the closest port of entry to the country you were leaving, that you were seeking asylum from. Maybe I'm wrong, and I will research this again and have our team take a look at it as well. But I think Jasmine Crockett is wrong. And Congresswoman Crockett, if you're listening, or if any of her constituents are listening on the stations that we're on in Texas, let her know. She's welcome to come on this program and have that discussion with me, because I feel like I would ask her some questions that are a little bit more pointed than the ones that she got on CNN. And I would call her out on that part where she says they can show up at any port of entry. I don't believe that's what the law says. Anyway, I want to get to your calls. I know we have Angel, who is calling us from Rochester, Minnesota on KAUS with a question about immigration. Angel, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdez. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I wanted to ask. I do understand the laws here. I mean, I've been here for 46 years.
Where'd you come from?
I'm 51 now, but I wanted to know. I mean, not all the people that cross the border are how would I say are bad people. I mean, they just come to.
Well, you said you came here some 40 some odd years ago. Where did you come from? Are you a bad person?
No, I'm not.
Exactly. So that's my point exactly. Where did you come from?
I'm not a bad person. No, I'm not. I'm legal. Been here too long.
From where?
Michoacán. Purandero, Michoacán.
How do you like it?
That's where I came from. Huh?
How do you like it?
Oh, I love it. You know, I abide with laws and everything, and you know, I mean, I do what I have to do to stay out of trouble and all that. But yeah, there's a lot of people that don't do that. You know, however, people that come across the border. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all innocent; that they have not committed no sin. But there's some people that are just trying to come over just to make a better life for themselves. That's all.
Sure. Listen, I mean, I think for the most part, in many years, I mean, as long as I've been alive, the majority of the immigrants that I've met have come to this country with that purpose. And I would also bet if there are 10,000 people getting through every day right now at the southern border, I would venture to say again that the majority of these people are likely not terrorists. They're likely not all here to cause harm. However, I've seen a trend with the videos I've seen where it's changing, right? You're not seeing families, moms, dads, little kids coming across as much. Now we're seeing just a lot of men. And they're not even Hispanic, right? They're not like you coming from Michoacán in Mexico. These guys are not even coming from Spanish countries. They're coming from Northern Africa. They're coming from Asia, like China. You've got guys coming in from Lebanon and other places. There's a lot of people coming in, and of course, the gangs that are coming in from Venezuela. Now, that doesn't make up 100% of everybody coming, but I do think it's making up a larger percentage recently, because I think they realize that we're hitting a fever pitch here. The tipping point is upon us, and something's got to change, right? Like Duran used to say, ya, basta, no más. And I think that's where we are, that we can't really take much more. So now they're just throwing everything they can, seeing what sticks. And my question to you is, Angel, what do we do? Every day, every other day, we see a story of some illegal alien from El Salvador or from Venezuela that has decided to come here, rape someone, kill someone. It's a different way of life. Many of these people were incarcerated or former military and then incarcerated. What do we do?
No, you know what? I mean, honestly, protect the country.
Right.
Straight up. Regardless of who they are, because there's a lot of people right now. There's a lot of people from even South America that are coming across. and they're coming across straight through Mexico.
Yeah, I know. And a lot of them are coming through from many places, and they all make their way into Mexico. They pay off some cartels, and then they come here. And, many people think, oh, these are Mexicans coming to work in restaurants. They're not Mexicans. My point is that this is not your typical migration. It's not the typical issues we've seen at the border. Something very unique is happening. We had General Blaine Holt on, who's said this many times, that he feels that there are military-aged men coming in here that are likely part of a cell of some sort and awaiting orders for the future. And that is a scary proposition. Angel, thank you for your call from Rochester, Minnesota. Big shout out to you on KAUS. We'll be right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, America, welcome back. And we continue our national conversation with Linda, Albany, New York, WDGJ. Linda, go right ahead quickly.
Thank you, Rich, for taking my call. I'm hoping on this boat accident that maybe they keep films going in the work areas as to how things are being done on those boats. That would be very interesting to see, and maybe it would help clear up what was happening at the time there.
I think you're right, Linda. I think you're 100% right. If we had folks more access to information, and hopefully we will. We'll see what happens. Whether they let us see it or not is a different story, because some of them, obviously may have been injured or worse. But I'd love to see how this plays out. I really do. I'm really curious to see the story that comes out of this. And I'm not suggesting it's a false story. I'm just really curious to see how you take a huge ship like this and run it into a bridge. And, I understand there was a mayday and, we may have lost propulsion. You lost steering. It's got to be scary. I've lost control of a car driving and gain it back quickly, but it's happened. So I get it. Linda, excellent point. Big shout out to everybody in Albany, New York, WDGJ. Let's go to David, San Francisco, California, listening online, richvaldez.com. David, go right ahead quickly.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I was more interested in the Supreme Court getting punked today. I don't know if you're keeping up on how many times they've taken on cases with totally fraudulent evidence or specious evidence.
Well, what evidence are you talking about? Are you talking about the oral arguments in the abortion case?
Yeah, but it wasn't just the oral arguments. It was that they accepted, in other words, in order to bring a case to the Supreme Court, you actually have to have someone who was damaged, hurt. And in the case of today, they basically allowed the issue to come up that if there was I hear the music. You want to hold me over?
Well, no, that's the end of the show. But, David, I get your point. You're saying if there's no aggrieved party, then who has standing? I think the standing here goes to the people who are saying that the law of the land is the state's rights and the federal government can't allow this to happen by way of mail. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. It's part of our agenda. Hasta la próxima. God bless.